Today we will talk about Kim Jong-il's work, Socialism is a Science, about the second chapter. And first we talk about the reactionary views on the human essence. So the ruling class distorts the essence of man to justify the exploitative society they created and they used to exploit man. So one thing is that some of them claim man is only a spiritual being, a product of a supernatural being, like a god, or if you go to Hegel, a world ghost or something like that, and that fate depends only on this supernatural being. So this god or whatever, defines fate, and therefore you cannot change it, and you should submit to it. So submit to the exploitative society and exploitation. Then there are this ones in the ruling class. We see man, or claim man is a only biological being, and with this view, there's no possibility of distinguishing man between instinct-driven animals. And capitalists use this view on man to defend their capitalist society, where the law of a jungle exists, where the weak fall prey to the strong. Then we have the progressive ideas on the human essence and human nature. So Marxism says that humans are being an ensemble of the social conditions they live in. And this was a historical achievement at the time because it destroyed the unscientific theories we mentioned earlier, but it is not a comprehensive explanation of the characteristic of human beings. And this was delivered by the Truth ideology, which sees human beings as social beings with the characteristics of independence, creativity, and consciousness. And this was the first scientific explanation of the characteristics of humans. So now we can explain the attributes of man further. So there's sovereignty. That's the will of the man to live and develop one's own destiny and to be the master of the world. And make its own destiny without any subjugation or exploitation. Then we have creativity. Creativity is the attribute of man to reshape the world according to its own needs, and also to shape one's own destiny sovereignly. And then there's awareness. Awareness determines all activities of man. It's directed to understand the world and oneself, and also to reshape the world and oneself. And it shows also sovereignty and creativity. So now we come to the socio-historical development. So independence, creativity, and consciousness are attributes that are formed and developed in the socio-historical process. Each generation inherits the social wealth and conditions of the previous generation, so the objective conditions. But these objective conditions are also created through the independent, creative, and conscious activity of man. And if independence, creativity, and consciousness are at an insufficient level, a society cannot develop rapidly, even if the material conditions are very good. And also the opposite, if you have a very good level of independence, creativity, and consciousness, then you can develop society rapidly, even if the material conditions are very bad. A very good example is the Korean society. So Korea was not very developed country when it was a feudal state, and then even became a Japanese colony. And a lot of was destroyed during the Federal Liberation War by the American imperialists. So they bombed that much of the country of Korea that they didn't even know what they could bomb anymore, because they had bombed already so much and everything in Korea. But because of the high level of independence, creativity, and consciousness in the masses, Korea could develop rapidly, become a strong and independent nation. So now we come to the physical life. So according to the Chuch idea, human have a physical life and a social and political life. So the physical life is a requirement for the social and political life. And the physical life satisfies the material needs, or the primary needs of man. And as the attributes of man develop, so consciousness, creativity, and independence develop, the material needs become more sophisticated. So men want more and better food and better housing and more culture and all that. And to secure a healthy material life is a guarantee for maintaining and flourishing the social and political life. So now we come to the social and political life. So man should value his social and political life much more than his physical life. And if the needs of social and political life are ignored and only the needs of the physical life are met, then this life, even if the needs of the physical life are met very well, that it's still an abnormal and deviant life, which is comparable to the life of an animal. And to have to meet the demands of the social and political life fully, man has to fulfill, have his sovereign rights and fulfill his sovereign demands. Also, humans receive their political and social life from the collective, from the social collective, and therefore the appreciation of life depends on the connection with the collective. So if one leads a life where he values the collective and works selfless for the collective, is valued by the collective, he has a very valuable life. But if one only works for himself and is selfish and is not valued by the collective, his life is worthless. So now we come to the Kim Jong-il quote. The truly human life, in which all people live their most important social and political life to the full and meet the needs of their physical life, can only be realized in a socialist society based on collectivism. In this society, people are freed from exploitation and oppression, domination and subjugation in all forms, so that they can enjoy a sovereign and creative life in all areas, including a socio-political life. In order for them to lead such a life in a social society with a high level of consciousness and ability as masters, it is necessary to properly organize their organizational, ideological, and cultural lives. Only when they are firmly equipped with an independent consciousness through a rational organizational and ideological life and healthy, rich cultural life, and when they have all-round developed creative abilities, can they actively engage with society and the collective and lead a valuable life as worthy members of it. So, are there any questions, or does anyone have a comment until now?
You've given a very excellent summary of the work Socialism is a Science, which is indeed a very valuable work that I think needs to be read and reread all the time. It really was a very brilliant work.
Thank you very much. I agree with you. I think it's one of the most important works of human history.
Yes,
Now we come.
for information we read it the second time now, I think, right, Jeremy? We once
Yes.
studied already. Yeah.
Yes. So now we come to the questions. So the first question is, what are the three social attributes of man and how are they defined? Does somebody want to answer the question?
These are obviously independence, creativity, and consciousness, and they only come about in humans as social beings. They're not inborn or innate qualities. They are formed through social life.
Thank you very much. Very good answer, yes. So I will now also show what the text says about that. So Kim Jong-il wrote, independence is an attribute of man in society who is willing to live and develop independently as the master of the world and his destiny, without being subjugated and fettered by any circumstances. Creativity is the attribute of social man who purposefully transforms the world according to his own needs and shapes his own destiny. Consciousness is the quality of social man that determines his entire activity, directed towards understanding and transforming the world and himself. Serenity and creativity are guaranteed by consciousness. So exactly what Dr. Hudson said. So are there any questions or remarks that somebody wants to make?
No remarks from my side.
Okay, then we come to the next question. The next question is, what are the two lives of a person and what characterizes them? Does somebody want to answer the question? So what are the two lives of men?
A person is a social being and an animal at the same time, and it's more social being as an animal.
Thank you very much for your answer. Yes, man has a physical life, is, as you say, a biological organism, and but also is a social being. So exactly what you said. Thank you very much for your answer. So we also have here what Kim Jong-il wrote in the text. He says, the true idea established for the first time in history that man is a being who, in addition to his physical life, also leads a social and political life. If the physical life represents the life of man as a biological organism, so you could say, yes, sort of animal, that its social and political life embodies the life of man as a social being. So the animals like deers, penguins, birds, whatever, they only have a physical life, are only biological organisms. And they don't have social lives. But man is the only being with two lives, and is not only a biological organism, but has a social and political life, which but is the life of man as a social being. So as you said, thank you very much for the answer. Are there any questions to that or any remarks somebody wants to make?
Remarks from my side so far.
So then I want to thank anybody who watched the video through Odyssey or through YouTube. Thank you very much, and we end the recording now.